Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the KnifeCenter. We're back from Blade Show and we're taking a look at the coolest new knives that have hit our shelves here in the last week. Let's check them out. So you're not going to see anything on this table just yet that we picked up at Blade Show, but this weekend's Knife AQ is going to have some awesome Blade Show content, as well as early next week, we're going to show you some of the really sweet stuff that we picked up at the show. We had a blast. Filled our van. We all drove back, basically sitting on top of many boxes of knives. It was a great time.
Little uncomfortable.
Little uncomfortable, but we were all happy anyway. But until we get to that, let's take a look at some of these guys. First up, we've got a new exclusive, which is the larger version of the mini Sheepdog exclusive that you've seen already. This is the Kizer Sheepdog with, coming in at $200 or $199, we've got black linen micarta and a CPM 4V blade steel, which makes so much sense on a big honkin' cleaver blade like this. The toughness and the edge retention combination that you're gonna get from that 4V is really gonna back up this nice hard working blade very nicely. You've also got a much fuller grip than the mini thanks to the non-mini size. I can get all four of my fingers on there, no problem. Really push that blade through some material and just really enjoy that nice steel. We've got a milled titanium pocket clip on the right side, nice inset liner lock as well, and of course, nice ball bearing action. Kizer always does a really good job, and it always feels really good with that big honking cleaver blade. So in now, you can also check out the minis. We'll leave links to both of them down below. Next up, we've got some new inventory of the Peña X Series Lanny's clip front flipper and the Trapper front flipper as well. Both of them coming in $274 with a handful of different handle materials. There's a natural and green micarta, a carbon fiber, and the nice jigged titanium, which has a nice kind of signature look. We see that from Enrique from time to time, and it always looks very good. Blade steel on both of these is M390. The Trapper here has about 2 3/4 of an inch, while the Lanny's clip is about 3 1/8 or thereabouts, in a much broader shape as well. Now, both of these knives are actually going to give you kind of fairly different cutting characteristics, or at least fairly different cutting experience, I should say. Well, both actually. The Lanny's clip, because it has a hollow grind, so it's going to be a bit thinner behind the edge before widening out, whereas the Trapper actually comes with a flat grind. So if you're looking for between the two better slicing, normally I like to recommend flat grinds just because I like how it's consistent all the way up. But because these don't start with the thinnest blade steel, I think you're going to get a little bit better cutting efficiency out of that Lanny's clip and a bit more kind of brute strength out of this this Trapper. Again, same thickness, but you've got a shorter grind on this flat grind here, so it might be a little more wedge-like in that respect. Now we've got the frame lock on the back of both of these knives, and they are front flippers as mentioned. And both of them work fairly well. I'm usually not the best at front flippers, and actually that Trapper is a little bit more finicky for me. The Lanny's clip though, each and every time, very easy. All right, next up we've got a new Sprint Run Spyderco Lil Native. It comes with a S90V blade and a peel ply carbon fiber handle coming in at $210. This has always been a really good platform for those folks that need a nice small knife that comes in under that 2.5 inch length. But like a lot of Spydercos in the lineup, you can get a better hold or a larger hold on that blade than you would think, thanks to their finger choil there. Even with slightly larger than average hands myself, I can get all 4 of my fingers on the handle of this guy. So you can really push this smaller blade when you need to. You've also got that full flat grind and that S90V for really long edge retention to back up the sliciness of that grind, so it's going to work very well. Got a wire pocket clip folded over, and it works on both sides, so it's going to look nice and classy from outside the pocket. And of course, you've got the compression lock there at the back. Makes it real easy to close one-handed, and you can even do that little flick action when you want to, if you want to be a little more fun. Now the peel ply also on that handle, one more word on that. In addition to looking cool and looking different than most carbon fibers, it actually gives you a really high degree of texture there. Not so much that it's going to feel like shreddy, but you do have plenty of surface area there to give you more grip, which is always appreciated when you do have a smaller handle like this. Along similar lines, but a little larger, we've got a new version of the GiantMouse Ace Biblio. These guys come in a little bit less, $185 right now, but these aren't sprint runs either, so these are going to be sticking around. Blade on this guy also has some really good steel, M390. Shouldn't hold an edge quite like that S90V will on the little native, but it's still going to hold an edge a good long time. Just under 3 inches with a very nearly full flat grind. So again, really good slicing characteristics. And a nice crown spine with a little bit of jimping midway through here. So you've got a little bit of texture there, but you've got that nice comfortable feel of the crown spine also. This new version has a Burgundy Micarta handle scale on both sides, nice and contoured, so you've got a pretty good feel in the hand. If you've got slightly smaller fingers than I do, this choil is going to work quite nicely for you into giving you a little bit more grip space. But even if it feels a little bit too small for you, there's still plenty to hold on to on the back, kind of a 3.5 finger grip for me in this case. We've also got that nice classy wire clip, which is reversible, liner lock in this case, and you've got ball bearing flipping action to boot. Next is a new version of the GiantMouse Ace Iona, which comes in at about $125, and really good combination of materials for that price. M390 steel again, also just under 3 inches, and sculpted black G10 on this guy. Now what's nice about this Iona design is it kind of takes a different tack than something like that Biblio. We have a bit more of kind of a working man's or workman's like vibe going on, even though it does manage to stay a little bit on the classier side. But one of the key differences you'll find here is no flipper tab. You've got thumb studs and bronze washers in the pivot here. So a little more or a little less susceptible to things like dust, dirt, and grime that you might encounter when doing some dirtier jobs. Blade length still though, nice and manageable at just under that 3-inch length. Almost a high flat grind. Won't be quite as slicey as that Biblio, but still great for just about anything day to day. Again, we've got an inset liner lock and that reversible wire pocket clip, and the texture on this G10 I think is done quite nicely. The other thing that kind of aids in the more rough and tumble nature of this knife is that scalloping and milling here on the handle itself. Now you are going to feel that a little bit if you grip hard. I doubt it's going to really raise a blister if you're just doing some odd cutting around, but if you're doing long cutting jobs, you might want to throw on a pair of gloves, but in either case, you're going to get plenty of traction. All right, next we'll go back to another classier GiantMouse. This is the Ace Clyde in some new anodized aluminum versions, both a red aluminum with black accents and a black version with red accents, if you like that a little bit better. Price on this guy, $145. We've got an N690 trailing point blade at that 3-inch mark, and it's like right at that 3 inches. Depending on how you measure it, you can maybe get it to peak just over that 3-inch line. So if that's a dimension that is of concern to you specifically, just keep that in mind. But good stainless steel here, not quite as good edge holding as the M390 on these other guys, but you've got a good slicing shape with this upswept profile and a nice crown spine again, keep things nice and comfortable. The handles themselves feel really nice, in addition to, I think, looking very good. Wire pocket clip on this guy, right side only though, so you can't flip this one around. Liner lock, black on this one to match the accents, and I love the way these guys fold up. The blade nestles right in there, nice and deep, has a nice, easy looking profile when closed, and then you're gonna be able to flick it open quite easily. What's really nice about that flick open action is they've got this tuned really well, because again, bronze washers in this guy rather than bearings, but as you can see, nice, smooth, consistent action. Now, if you'd rather have your trailing point blade with some ball bearings, got some new versions of the CJRB Gobi to check out. Very affordable, these guys, just $42 right now. And these new versions have a black coated RPM 9 blade, which is CJRB's budget-oriented powder metallurgy steel. It's gonna get you some really nice performance for the money. Blade itself is about 3.4 inches long. Again, nice sweeping slicing profile, almost a full flat grind going on there, and a bunch of different G10 handle options. I think 4 different colors right now, but the Jade G10 with the red accents looks, I think, especially good. In addition to having a good look, this G10 has a nice contour to it as well. Has a very silky feel in the hand, not so blocky like maybe some of their earlier releases. Just has that nice feel. Gives you a little bit of knuckle clearance if you're doing some slicing things down on a cutting board. Not that this is a particularly food-oriented folding knife, but you could do that in a pinch, certainly. Almost deep carry on the pocket clip, reversible for both sides. Inset liner lock on this guy, and the ball bearings in the pivot like I mentioned. So you're gonna be able to flip that open very nicely. Next up is the third blade shape for the new Mini Recon from Cold Steel. These guys come in at 67 bucks, or 68 I should say, and now we've got the Tanto profile now available to go along with, I think it was a clip point and a spear point before. We'll just say that's what it was. AUS 10 steel on these guys. Again, just under 3 inches. This is one of the shoe-ins for like that small but mighty category, because you do have a nice full handle on this guy with that blade length just under 3 inches. So you're gonna feel like you're gonna be able to put this to some really nice hard work. I also really like the stonewashed finishes they're doing on these blades right now. It has a really nice texture to it. It's gonna help hide your scratches as you use the knife also. Moving back to those handles that I just mentioned, like I said, they do give you a nice big grip on the knife, and they're made out of glass reinforced nylon, but they don't feel chintzy at all. This is one of the nicer executed GRNs we've seen out there, almost like G10. In fact, I think I mistakenly on a video a while back looked at it and said, oh, hey, that's G10, and told you guys. Sorry for that. It's just really nice GRN. We've also got Cold Steel's Triad lock there for a lot of strength, and because of that and because of the pocket clip here, we've got full ambidextrous use on this knife. You just have that thumb stud there that could be used as is left-handed, but it's actually a reversible thumb stud if you wanted to have the bigger nubbin on the left-hand opening side. All right, we'll keep some kind of tactical-y things rolling here. We've got some new Ultratechs from Microtech, which actually came from the Nashville Custom Knife Show that was held just 1 week before Blade Show. We managed to get our hands on a few of these. Limited editions for the show coming in about $5.95.
Is that why it's got a guitar on it?
That is why it has a guitar on it. Nashville, Music City after all. But it looks really nice with the orange on the black there. Really stands out. You know, Nashville fans, you know, music fans in general, Stratocaster fans especially, because that is a Fender Strat there, will all definitely enjoy this particular piece. Blade steel on these guys is M390, double-edged of course, so it's about a 3.5-inch blade, so you've got yourselves almost 7 inches of sharpened steel. You've also of course got that excellent Microtech action from their double action OTF, just all around good stuff. Speaking of automatics in general, we've got the Spyderco Autonomy. One of these versions is now back in stock. The fully serrated option coming in at $245 with the LC200N blade, which is virtually rust-proof, almost completely in fact, which is perfect on a knife like this. They've actually, they tell us they designed this knife specifically for like the Navy and the Coast Guard, people in the services that are going to be out there in environments like that where rust resistance is going to be a special concern. Now, those kind of folks may need to be wearing heavier work or tactical gloves as well in those situations, which is why they give us a button design like this. It's like a raised ring, essentially, that's a bit oversized, so it's going to be very easy to find without even looking at the knife, even if you are wearing one of those heavier sets of gloves. And then when you hit that button, the action is very good indeed. Apart from that, you've just got kind of a classic looking Spyderco design, just without the big thumb hole there, since you're not going to be opening that with your thumb anyway. But really nice length on the handle, plenty of length there. Again, even if you're wearing a pair of gloves, there's going to be a lot of room here, except for those out there with the largest of the largest hands. And you can get, because of the design here at the front, right up behind the edge when you need to, but you still have that nice gentle slope to the finger guard here to offer you a little bit of protection. Speaking of classic Spyderco designs, we've got a new version of the Dragonfly 2 here with the black S30V blades, and the pink FRN is now in stock. Comes in about 98 bucks these days. Now, I know a lot of times kind of the pink knife thing is stereotypically like a lady's knife, but even if you're not a lady, I think this pink and black really does have some striking looks. If you can get past that, I think you're gonna be very happy with it. And of course, you know, the sales of these, Spyderco donates a portion of their profits to the Pink Heels charity as well. So it's definitely for a good cause. And as always, the best way to enjoy a good cause is to have something on the other end you can enjoy too. It makes it easy, a win-win situation for everyone. You've got another great sub 2.5-inch blade option here, even lighter than that little native, much less expensive too, so you'll be able to afford it quite easily. And again, still have something that you wouldn't feel too underknifed with in a lot of urban and suburban situations. All right, next up we've got a few new Condors, and which, by the way, before we get started, do you guys see the Condor video we did from Blade Show where Joe Flowers broke my brain on camera? You were there.
That was funny.
Ooh, go check that out. The guy is a nut, but it's a lot of fun to watch. So I want to pimp that interview again here real quick. But one of his new designs for this year that's now in stock, we've got the Gladius neck knife coming in, what's it, $46 or so right now. For that, you're getting a Roman Gladius style of neck knife. Blade length is about 3 1/8, 1075 carbon, double edge, so you're doubling your length on the blade there in terms of your edge holding, and just a simple paracord wrap to give it a little bit more thickness and a little bit of grip, because other than that, it would be a pretty darn thin carry. If that's your thing, you certainly could remove that wrap, but it's not going to be too obtrusive even with the wrap here. It gives you a good amount of something to hold on to, especially considering for me, my fourth finger falls off the end, but you got the lanyard there, so you do get a little bit of grip from that. As far as the sheath goes, you've got Kydex in this case. Great thing about that Gladius is, since it's symmetrical, no matter which way you stick it in that sheath, it should work quite nicely. It's also set up for neck carry with some 550 cord here, right out of the box. And the whole pattern on these guys, if you want to belt carry it, small tech lock will work quite nicely. Next up, we've got the Primal Cleaver from Condor. Comes in $72 right now. For that, $10.95 steel on this particular example rather than the $10.75. And some nice contoured Micarta handles that, despite being short in length, actually feel really comfortable. I can just barely get all 4 of my fingers on there, but it fills the hand quite nicely. You're going to be able to push some powerful cuts through this blade. And in addition to that, a small, at least, camp food prep knife. I think it's going to work fairly well. Certainly just large enough to do stuff like onions and other small vegetables, and doing a little bit of meat processing as well. If you need something bigger, you might need a butcher knife or something. But you're going to be able to do a pretty good job with this for most of the camp tasks you might need, as long as you're not feeding an army. You could even do a little bit of that rocking on a cutting board with it to mince up some garlic or herbs or anything like that. It's going to work pretty well. I dare say even, I don't know, a little bit of belly going on here. You might even be able to do some animal processing with this in a pinch. And yeah, I don't know, the more I hold this, the more it's kind of growing on me. There's some good things going on with this. In addition to that nice comfortable handle, you got a nice lanyard here on the back. Comes with a Micarta bead as well, which is kind of nice. And you got a couple of lanyard holes further up on the handle as well to do some other wrapping techniques or other lanyard techniques if you like. Now the sheath on this knife is actually really nice too. Nice thick leather here, and it's kind of just as high quality as any of the other like black or brown leather sheaths they do. But they managed to give it a little bit more of a rustic look going on. You can see we've got the retention strap there, simple belt loop on the back, and looks very, very nice. One more from Condor, we've got the German Aviator Machete. Comes in $114 right now with a 16-inch blade of 1075 with this black coating. It's got a good weight and a good balance to it. A little forward heavy, which you would want. Feels like it's going to have some good chopping action and slashing action going on. Maybe leaning a little more into the sword aspect of it. We've got this crossguard here at the back. It's going to make it a bit harder to choke up if you did want to do some smaller tasks, but it is going to give you some protection there. And it's somewhat on the blocky side, but you've got that hardwood handle at the back. It does have a nice swell as it gets toward the steel butt plate here, so you do have a little bit of aid on those swings. It's less likely to kind of slip forward, and with that plate you've got a nice hammering pommel there also. Sheath on this guy is actually pretty nicely considered. High quality thick leather here again. We've got a synthetic wrap here around the top with your belt loop, as well as a handle loop here. But perhaps most interestingly, if you don't want to carry this on your belt all the time, you've got this metal hook right here. Essentially, you can just slip this inside your belt, and that's going to catch over your belt. So when you're ready to use this, you can take the whole thing off, have a little bit better maneuverability as you're hacking and slashing around, and then you can just slip it wherever it's comfortable for the next leg of your journey. Next up, from Cold Steel, the Magnum Tanto in 3V, coming in about $270. What more do I need to say? How cool is this big old blade? Nice toughness from that 3V, and of course good edge retention as well. Nice balance on this guy. It's not too unwieldy despite, you know, the thickness and the length of that blade steel. It feels, dare I say it, pretty nimble in fact. You've also got plenty of grip thanks to the rubber overmold there. Classy look with the silver accents, a little bit of protection from the guard in this case. Yeah, just something really nice about that. The balance kind of makes this what it is. It gives it kind of that little bit of extra special feeling. And of course, put together and executed very nicely. Nice crisp edges where you want them. Very fine machining going on. Sheath on this guy, Secure-X like most of Cold Steel's stuff. Nice positive retention. You've got a belt loop and a belt retention strap there for a little bit of extra hold, but it does hold in there pretty well even without it. And then of course, Tech-Lock compatible as well. All right, last but not least, we've got a couple new tactical products from ASP. First is the Raptor DF flashlight. Very bright, been on the pricey side, about $167 right now, but built very, very tough. You can see we've got a nice large housing here at the front because they gave it a really good sized reflector. But when you unscrew that top, you've actually got a micro USB charging point there on the side. It comes with an 18650 on the inside to take the charge from that. The 18650 also has its own micro USB. So if you have a pair of them, I think it's like $27 or so for an extra battery. You can have one charging up outside the light if you've gone through 2 sets of batteries in a day. Screw that back down, and of course, you've got that nice tactical light with the crenellations there on the top. Now, what's kind of interesting about the way this works here on the back, there's 3 positions for you to put the tail switch in. If it's in the central position, you're locked out. You're not going to be able to use it. Move it over here to the one side, you've got momentary on, and you can cycle through a couple of different modes. Move it to the other side, you can push that and have constant on. Just make sure if you do that, I discovered this earlier, we'll shine on the back wall, see if this turns out. If you do turn it on constant and you move it over here, you're not gonna be able to turn it off until you get it back over to that side to turn it off. Just keep that in mind. But speaking of the light itself, 1900 lumens, quite bright.
Yep.
Quite bright indeed. Available on its own like so, and you can also separately purchase this nice holster here for just under 24 bucks. You've got a clip style belt attachment here on the back, which is also adjustable for your actual belt size. Now, if that's all this did, fine, it would be one thing. But what's really cool about this is the bottom itself is open for one thing, so you can actually shine through with it in the sheath, but it's also rotatable. So you could have this mounted somewhere and actually point the light where you need it to be and work hands-free with it. Pretty cool, I'd say. And just gives you that little bit of extra functionality in what would otherwise be a very difficult knife or a very difficult flashlight to use one-handed because there's a lot of weight. You can't exactly like hold that in your mouth like a heathen. Be pretty difficult to take care of. So really like the way these are built. Feel solid in the hand. Nice bit of texture there, rubberized texture for some grip. Quite nice. One point of correction, those extra 18650 batteries we do have right now come in about $23 right now. So there you go. Last but not least, we've got some new scabbards for the Revolution series of batons from ASP, which you can see one of those in there. These are available for 3 different sizes of that baton series. Cheapest one for the 16-inch T40 comes in about $39 right now. Hard plastic construction on the case itself, similar style of, well, exactly the same style of belt clip, but it is not a rotating clip. Now, what's nice about this is this is kind of designed for extra security for the baton. It has a typical loop over styling to it, but this is not a snap here on the front. This isn't going to come out. So if someone is trying to take this off of you, they might go for the clip here. It's not going to go anywhere. The way this works is you push down, you go for it, push down a little bit, that actually rotates out of the way, at which point you can grab what you need and get done what you need as well. So that little extra bit of security can have some really nice peace of mind, but it's still a very intuitive way, or a very intuitive operation when you know what you're doing. Just reach down even faster than some kind of snap operation, I would say.
Almost like you know what you're doing.
Almost. That's what I go for, the appearance of knowing what I'm doing. But that's all we have time for today, everyone. Let me know what you thought of these knives and other security products down in the comments. And to get your hands on any of them, we'll leave links in the description below, as always, to take you over to KnifeCenter.com. Make sure to sign up for our Knife Rewards program so that when you pick up one of these knives today, you'll at least earn some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center, signing off. See you next time.